I have always been a skeptic. I never believed in ghosts, demons, or other supernatural phenomena. A rational mind refused to accept stories of paranormal activity, dismissing them as fabrications or mental illness. However, everything changed when I received a letter from my old school friend, Alina. Alina wrote that she had recently bought an old house on a hill near our hometown. The house was in terrible condition, but the price was so low that she couldn't resist. However, after moving in, strange things started happening. Alina recounted hearing footsteps at night, seeing shadows moving on their own, and even hearing a voice calling her name. She begged me to come and help her figure out what was going on. I couldn't refuse an old friend, even though I thought her stories were foolish superstitions. I packed my things and headed to our hometown, where I was greeted by gloomy autumn weather and empty streets. Alina waited at the house's entrance, her face pale and eyes full of fear. The house was large and old, with tall windows and carved shutters. It stood atop a hill, surrounded by dense forest. I immediately noticed that the house had long been in need of repair. The paint was peeling, the windows were dusty, and parts of the roof had collapsed. Inside, the house looked even more frightening. Dark corridors, creaky floors, and walls covered in cracks and mold stains. Alina led me to the living room, where we sat to discuss her problem. She told me that every night she heard footsteps growing louder. Sometimes she heard whispers as if someone was calling her name. She felt like she was being watched and was afraid to stay in the house alone. I decided to stay the night to see everything for myself. The first thing I noticed was the heavy feeling in the house, as if the air was electrified and filled with fear. I tried to convince Alina that it was all just her imagination, but I felt uneasy. At night, I was awakened by a strange sound. Footsteps. They were quiet but distinct, and it seemed like someone was walking down the corridor. I got out of bed and went into the corridor, trying not to make any noise. The footsteps grew louder, and I felt a chill that penetrated to the bone. The flashlight I had brought with me revealed only dusty walls and empty rooms. The footsteps stopped as suddenly as they had started. I returned to the bedroom, but sleep wouldn't come. In the morning, I told Alina about what I had heard, and she said it happened every night. We decided to explore the house to find the source of these sounds. First, we headed to the attic. The dark and dusty space was filled with old things that seemed untouched for decades. Among the clutter, I found an old diary that appeared to belong to the previous owner of the house. The diary described creepy events that had occurred in the house. One entry mentioned a little girl who had died in the house, and her spirit had not found peace since then. Descending from the attic, we decided to inspect the basement. The descent there was terrifying, a narrow staircase leading into darkness and damp air filling our lungs. The basement was cold and damp, with mold visible on the walls, and old boxes and broken furniture littering the floor. We searched every corner but found nothing suspicious. However, the nightmares continued at night. The footsteps, whispers, and cold breath on the back of my neck became unbearable. I felt like I was going crazy. We decided to spend the night in the living room, hoping it would be less scary together. I grabbed a flashlight and tried to focus on something rational to distract myself from the fear. Suddenly, the living room door opened by itself. I clutched the flashlight and directed its beam at the door. No one. Suddenly, there was a loud bang from the corridor as if someone was running. We rushed in that direction but found nothing again. We began to doubt that we could find an explanation for these phenomena. The next day, I suggested that Alina leave the house and return to the city, but she refused. She said she couldn't abandon the house she had invested so much time and money into. I realized I had to help her to the end, and we decided to contact a local historian who might know more about the house and its past. The historian told us that the house was built in the late 19th century by a wealthy landowner. His family lived there for several generations, but they all died under mysterious circumstances. The last owner was a doctor who conducted strange experiments in the basement of the house. It was said that he tried to summon the spirits of the dead to learn the secrets of the afterlife. We returned to the house with new knowledge and decided to find more evidence. We searched the basement and attic again, this time looking for traces of the experiments. In one corner of the basement, I discovered a hidden door concealed behind a shelf. Behind the door was a small room with an old table covered in papers and strange devices. On the table, I found the doctor's diary, in which he described his experiments. He claimed to have successfully summoned spirits and even communicated with them. The diary contained descriptions of rituals and spells used to summon the spirits. We realized that these experiments were the cause of all the horrors in the house. We decided to perform a ritual to free the spirits and end their torment. Following the instructions in the diary, we prepared everything needed and began the ritual. As soon as we started reciting the spells, strange phenomena began occurring in the house. The lights flickered, objects moved on their own, and the air filled with whispers. Despite our fear, we continued the ritual. Suddenly, a glowing figure of a girl appeared in the room. She looked at us with sadness and gratitude. I realized that it was the spirit of the little girl who had died in the house. She said that thanks to us, her spirit could finally find peace. After the ritual was completed, all the strange phenomena ceased. The house became quiet and peaceful. Alina was finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. We decided to leave the house and return to the city. But this incident forever changed my attitude towards the supernatural. Now I know that even the most rational minds can encounter the unexplainable and mystical.